Okay.
Hi,
Yeah, we're
we're
live.
live right now, and this is live with Coffee with Traders. And the Mad Bulgarian has done a new setup for us, right? He's
Yes.
gotten some really cool microphones, or whatever this is called. I don't know why they're
It's a
they're
microphone.
colored like this,
Yeah.
but
Well,
they're
let's talk about this on
yeah.
this podcast. Why are they colored like this?
Why?
You guys are candlestick men, and what colors are the candles?
I didn't get that until now.
The candles are red and green. There we go. So we have red. So maybe what we should do is when we have to talk about a bad story or a negative story where we're losing, you have to hold the red mic. And if you're talking about a positive story where you're up in your stock or whatever you're into, you have to use the green mic. I don't know. We can
Well,
play with it.
I mean, but I don't know that, but I mean, now I get it. Why they're okay, red and green. I like it. Okay, I like the idea.
The road was actually just asking me a question. He whispered in my ear. He said the question of the day is the bully and I. What color is your candle?
My can. Whoa! What kind of question is that? What kind of question is this?
Well, we want to tickle your.
This is not that kind of a podcast, guys. This is a real podcast with market knowledge and information and helping people. You guys want that kind of podcast? You guys have to go somewhere else, okay? Not me. Oh, by the way, you know what I love about these? It allows me to now kind of lean back, right? And not worry about all this stuff that you want me to do every time.
Yes.
You know, because you're such a stickler for things.
Absolutely. I like turtles.
Okay, so Z Money,
What's up?
you need to be more involved today, okay? Because I know you've been busy. You're back from your vacation,
Yeah.
right? We just have to always pause when we say that because we don't take vacations from the markets. But here we go. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So there's been Trump and his little ceasefire arrangement with Iran, but he didn't put an end date on this one at the beginning when he mentioned that. And also, Iran didn't really agree to anything, so it's interesting to see what's going to happen with that.
Okay, so we'll talk about. So what we'll do is today we'll talk about like what I like about what you've done, the Mad Bulgarian, is you allow us to talk about real events that's happening, unfolding right now because of the way you've scheduled this live podcast now, right? Which is really cool. So obviously we want to talk about the ceasefire or the non-ceasefire or the maybe ceasefire, right? Whatever it's called. Also, I want to talk about some of the like behind the scenes market stuff that's going on, right? Because in the bullionite moment, I covered some mispricing when it comes to the stock market, especially if people are in the stock market right now and you see these kind of big green days, which is I feel like is kind of fooling what's actually going on behind the scenes. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We won't make it all boring, right? We'll talk about cool stuff as well. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about, and maybe you've looked at this, about all the ships getting on like boarded in the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, like what's up with that?
I don't know much about it. I just heard it. And in fact, there was even a question to the president. I saw a little news clip of one of these reporters asking the president, can you confirm that American troops are boarding Iranian ships? And the president said, no, thank you, no, thank you. And then he got her out.
Yeah.
So we don't really seem to have any kind of feedback from the White House as to whether or not that's true or if it's just fake news. So
I have a quick question for the Mad Bulgarian, actually, just because that's a very good point you just mentioned.
Thank you.
When somebody asks a question to the president, one of the greatest nations in the world,
The greatest.
the greatest nation in the world, and you don't like that question, you just kick them out of the room? See, how are you supposed to think
So-
the thesis
so,
of the people if
yeah,
you can't really like?
yeah, I hear you. And I agree. I think that this current president has been very short with reporters. That's been my observation from when he's done news conferences. Any question that he does not like is typically the reporter is they're talked down to, they're demasculated and escorted out. And the problem with some of this is you have to understand, as a journalistic reporter, your job is to report the news, but you also have a career. So some of these folks, if you go to a White House press conference and you ask the president a question that he doesn't like and he shoos you away, you're blackballed. You can't go back to the White House again. So that's career suicide. So what's happening is a lot of these journalists aren't asking the questions that the people want answers to because they're afraid of getting blackballed, not being invited back, and career suicide.
It's even democratic.
I mean, look, that's that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Okay, I get the question. Okay, but obviously with Coffee with Traders, we talk more about the traders' lives and markets and stuff. But I do understand the question. But you have to understand something. If you're the president, you can decide who you want to answer a question to or not. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? The only problem is if you are kind of being rude or you're just making someone feel absolutely bad, right? Now that that's up to the person, the personality. But realistically, you're the president of the United States. You have so many things you're doing that's important, and someone asks a question and you feel like you don't want to answer. I think it's perfectly fine to be like, I'm not going to answer this question.
Yeah, but with respect.
Yeah, I get it. With
But
respect.
That's the thing, right? Because on some, if I may, on some level, the president of the United States is a representation of the greatest nation in the world and the American people. And to represent the greatest nation in the world and the American people in such a way where you're being rude to others in response to a question you don't like, bro.
The people need to be aware of what's going on, specifically in these times of uncertainty. People are scared. People are fearful. They don't know what's happening to their Roth IRAs and stocks.
Yeah,
and
dude, they're getting letters about their kids being drafted off to some war they didn't even want to vote for.
Yeah, I was saying, like I was telling the key the other day, I was like, man, it'd suck if you just the next day you're not here, like.
But that's what it means. If you're a citizen of a country and you're of age, eligible age,
Yeah.
you need to be able to defend your country.
But I have bone spurs.
Okay, well, that's the problem.
They
See,
cut
this
off
is the
the-
problem with this younger generation. This is the problem with the younger generation.
glaucoma.
You guys have the TikTok attention span, You don't have a vision, man.
You don't
This is
know.
America,
Yeah.
the greatest nation on planet Earth.
So you-
We have a vision for the world. Now, yes, is some of it being executed incorrectly or not the most appropriate way? I get it. But you can't sit here and be like, hey, if America needs you, you have to be there for America.
We're raising the age to 50. Let's see who-
I don't mind. I'm going.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay?
you're right in that
I
way.
mean,
you're out of that age
Like,
bracket now.
but that's not my fault. That's not my fault. That's not my fault. Okay?
They just increased the service age. I think up to 42 years of age now, whereas before I think it was like 37 or something like that. So now up to 42 years old, you could have a chance of being recruited for the military.
Yeah, but but this is on a serious note. Did you notice that in Germany, I think, or one of the countries in Europe, they actually raised that age for some kind. Oh, no. If you're going out of the country and you're going to stay for longer than a certain number of months, I'm sure some of the viewers can correct us on this. Now you have to report this up to the age of 46 or something.
Wow.
Something like that. That's good. Hey, but listen, but that means something else is brewing. You get it? Like if they're making a change like that, Germany is the biggest economy in Europe. It's the biggest contributor to the European Union. And they're saying that,
Also a large scale.
one of the countries in the European Union. I mean, we will fact check this, right?
It's preemptive.
No, what I'm saying is, hey, be observant, be reflective, because there's a lot that's going on where the front headline is very different to what's happening behind the scenes.
Well, they could also be just from like an average perspective of it would be just they don't have that many people now. Like populations have decreased in a lot of countries, so they have to increase the range of people who can go in the military because they. have a
So
lot-
now here's
That makes sense, actually, because you're right. The population, the world population has been decreasing, and a lot of the European countries too. There's people that are migrating out of their country of origin and going abroad. So yeah, you could be right to where they're just running into a population crisis, and then they do have to increase it because they have to maintain certain military numbers as far as people on reserves or people ready to go out and deploy. That makes a lot of
It's a
sense.
very good point too, because there's a few of those like Slavic countries that are like there's just no men there. There's a lot of big population of women.
I heard
There's very-
Latvia was one of those countries. In fact, there was on the if I may. There was on the passport bros, and they were talking about going to Latvia because the female population outnumbers the men. So if you go over there, allegedly, right, you have a chance of meeting your wife.
How did this conversation go from world events to now eligible European brides? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Economics.
Well, we're talking about the correlation between them increasing the age of military service and the fact that the world population or the population in certain countries is much lower than it has been previously. So therefore, and then we just fell into talking about Latvia. Yeah.
Well, these are definitely more like niche areas of the
Behind the scenes of a trader life.
Yeah, there's definitely more like I don't want to say relevant, but more present moments right now. Like today, we just saw like the Nasdaq hit an all-time high with oil continuing to climb.
Where's oil at today?
And so oil's at 93, and the
Nice.
futures are at 90. Or it's 95, Yeah. 96 right now. Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Here's the interesting thing, right? And I want to ask you guys this because I know a lot of people are watching, where the news, and they're seeing now we're boarding ships, right?
Yeah.
So a couple Iranian ships, also out of the geography of the Strait of Hormuz, right? Like that second ship was in the Indian Ocean, even outside of the Gulf of Oman, right? So the Strait of Hormuz, and then there's the Gulf of Oman. But we need to find out, like, what does that mean? So I have a question. What does China feel? How does China feel about this? How do you guys think? What are they going to do? Because in one of the ships, what the talk is that there might have been weapons being sent to Iran, right? A gift. But the other ship that they kind of stopped in the Indian Ocean, actually boarded it and took over, has oil heading to China. So what do you guys think about that? Like, how do you think China feels about this? What are they going to do? Just because all this will affect different markets. Like, it can affect precious metals, it can affect oil, it can affect stocks, it can affect people's retirement accounts. Like, what do you guys think?
Okay, well, in terms of China's role specifically in this, I think it's not as prevalent in the current time right now. Because the thing is that China, right? I mean, I was watching an interview between like a United States journalist and a Chinese foreign minister. And one thing that the journalist had asked the foreign minister, they said that, hey, so we see that there are reports of you possibly aiding Iran. How does this affect your relationship with the United States? And what's interesting is the foreign minister said, we don't really care, right? And so one thing about that is you have to realize, just like you'd mentioned.
Which foreign? The Chinese foreign minister said that?
One person.
Or
from
a
the
representative
Chinese-
of their foreign ministry.
A
Okay.
representative of the foreign ministry.
Okay.
So I don't want to, say that inaccurately. But one thing that you had mentioned, right, the Bullionite last episode, is that Iran is basically Babylon, right? The United States is dealing with Babylon. Now, when it comes to China, it's essentially the same thing. China is an empire that's been around for how many thousands of years now, right?
Yeah.
And so, the thing is that China won't really, I believe that China won't really affect anything in this war personally, because they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to keep going about their daily business with Iran, continue to not care about their.
But how is that going to affect the market? See, if that continues, because what I've been saying all along, this energy crisis is very veiled. Nobody understands how bad it is out there right now. When you have feet on the ground, like in the Middle East or in Southeast Asia or something, you kind of understand how bad this can get, right? So that's what I'm asking you. So if they say, oh, it's business as usual, which I don't think it's going to be, how is this going to affect? What about you?
I think it'll definitely hinder the U.S. and China relationship. And as we saw, like Trump earlier in his presidency, when he stopped letting them like manufacture chips or sending out chips or whatever, stocks took a big hit from that. And I think in the same way, this could also have like an effect that Trump will feel some type of way about it, and that will hinder the relationship. He'll put something in effect, and that could.
Well, because he already said that, right?
Yeah.
He said 50% tariffs.
So I like that, what you said. I do see what Adam says, or the key says, of how they might just go on as business as usual. But there is a deeper level to this, and really, like, just like how you need to understand the Iranian mentality and perspective on things, you also have to look at them. Like you said, they've been here for a long time, and I was watching the interview as well, where he said, "We've been here for a long time. The U.S. has only been here for not that long, for as a fraction of what they've been for what China has been here,
200 some years, right?
200 years." Yeah, so they're saying that no matter what happens, China will still be here.
Yeah.
Like they're their own people. But what I like about China and what I personally think is how they're thinking of things is very strategic. Because right now they're seeing that the US is deploying money and more and efforts and time, and the people are becoming tired. They're losing their money. The economy is NASDAQ being at all-time highs, oil being high, gold approaching all-time highs. This is a recipe for disaster. But real estate is extremely expensive in the US. China's seeing all of this. China right now is developing themselves. No matter if they are having an oil disruption or having their 3-day work weeks or whatever it is, they're still building.
Yeah, because did you see they had this? This is the second year, but this time a robot won the marathon. Did you see that? Yeah, every year. So for the last couple of years, they've had like robots or like some kind of innovation run a marathon with people. This year, this was just happened a couple of days ago, is the first year that the robot actually won against the people.
Wow.
See,
The
that's just a lot of things.
Innovation.
You know, I watched some tourists go to China, and they're pretty innovative. Now, of course, China is also the master at hiding the bad things away. You have to understand. I mean, I've seen satellite pictures of them painting areas of the desert or areas of the mountains that used to be green that had gone brown due to water shortage. I've seen them paint this stuff green. Okay, and there's satellite images of watching these people paint this stuff green. So there is a lot of fakery going on, but I did see this tourist go down to China, and he was able to go into a store and rent AI robot legs. And so he puts them on. It's like almost like a
AI robot.
AI robot legs. So yeah, you get the robot legs, and then he can walk freely, and it's like no effort because it's all like you have a little battery pack back here. And I thought it was so cool. And it's like I wish America would have something cool like that where I can go rent robot legs, and it was cheap too. It's crazy.
And that was literally that specific example. I was watching that video, and I think it was so cool because they have that like staircase. It's called Staircase to Heaven in China, I think, if I'm not wrong. But it's a really cool view when you get up there. Definitely want to go there and rent some legs or whatever. But
To rent some legs. Robot legs.
Dude, that's a pretty cool experience. But
It would be.
like what I'm saying is China is building secretly and silently. And when they see America's flooding money into this, Iran is punishing America and Israel for what they're doing, or they're combating it, is what I would like to say rather than punishing. But they're kind of cool with this because they're like they were tearing us up.
Who's they?
China.
China.
They
Okay.
were terrifying us. They were doing this. The EU is that's probably why they're not trying to get in either. 'Cause
And you know
they're
the
terrified.
tariff refund started yesterday.
That's a good point. But what are these countries? They didn't see that.
But yes, the tariff refunds did start yesterday. But if you saw the president's comment, he said that that companies that take the refund, he's not going to look kindly upon them.
And he said he'll remember the
He said he will favor the companies that refuse to take their tariff refund.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's his kind of personal opinion.
But you bring up a good point because this actually can severely affect the stock market. right?
Which one?
The tariff refunds. Because the thing is
Not if you look at what it's doing the last week. You know what I mean?
okay, but when you look at and like the Rogan and I were talking about this such a long time ago, but like the thing is that a lot of these corporations, right? So like multi-billion-dollar corporations, Walmart, all like they've all been punished by this tariff, right?
Mhm.
And so the thing is when you know everyone starts asking for them, suddenly because America's economy is essentially propped up a little bit, right? Because in reality, when you look at the stock market, right, it's hitting all-time highs, but you look outside, doesn't really feel
yeah.
like our economy is booming.
Yeah.
And so,
And if you ask the average American, you know, who's spending more money on gas, more money on groceries, inflation is up, right? Like that's what you're saying.
exactly,
Yeah,
And
okay.
so like what we are seeing happen to the stock market is not what's happening on the ground in America, right?
Yeah.
In other words, the economy booming, right? And so,
But here's my question, right? This is, I mean, I was thinking about this. Like, you know, I go up and down my house, and then I see, I have the TVs with the news everywhere in different places and stuff. And all I hear, and this is interesting, all I hear is gas prices, gas prices, gas prices, right? In a way, I'm thinking, hey, we're the biggest, most powerful country in the world. We need to be not worried about gas prices as much. And like, why is that such a big deal? I know it costs money. Okay. I know it affects the average person, but aren't we weak if the thing that stops this is because our gas prices? Because that's, you know what I mean by that?
But it's not
Like,
just gas.
you get it?
So a couple of things. So first off, I mean, look, if you look at the majority, the middle class has been shrinking for decades now. So most people, they have to commute, I think on average, like an hour a day to get to their job. An hour there, an hour back. Okay, that's the average commute for most people. And that takes gas, and you're stuck in traffic. And when you're stuck in traffic, your miles per gallon isn't all that great. And because some of this administration's push towards more ICE-powered vehicles, right, and combustible engines versus electric, for example, it's causing people to be more reliant on oil. So yes, of course, when your gas bill goes from $200 a week to $400 a week, the average American, they're a paycheck away from being broke. They don't have a savings.
Okay.
Hold on. And furthermore, on the tariff thing, because I want to comment on this, where's the refunds to the people that are buying the products that paid for that increase in their product? Are these companies that are getting the tariff refunds going to be issuing a refund to the people? Oh, you bought this product. Here's a refund for $20. No. So again, the consumer, they're getting screwed on the goods they're buying. They're getting screwed on the groceries they're buying because guess what else fuel affects? The trucking industry that delivers your groceries. So you're paying more fuel, more for your groceries. You're paying more for your goods because of these tariffs, and there's no break anywhere in sight. Oh, and by the way, we're going to take away your SNAP benefits too. Come on, man.
Okay.
That's not the greatest.
We can see the mad Bulgarian is affected by
Absolutely.
this.
Well, we need it. This is
Okay.
really grinds my
We
gears.
can see it. But that's not what I meant. I didn't say that the gas okay. I didn't say that gas prices shouldn't matter to the average American, to us. Like, it shouldn't matter to us, right? That's not what I said. I said that, that's not what I was trying to say. What I'm saying is, hey, if we have this massive goal of vision of changing certain trajectories that's out there that is against the United States, right? And we get into it, whether it's yes or no, right? We're in it. Now, we're not going to stop this because of gas prices. That looks really, really weak.
No.
Okay.
But the foundation is weak here. It's like
That's why I'm asking. It's a good thing to put it out there. And, whether I'm not saying I'm agreeing or not, but I want to find, what do you think about that?
the foundation here is extremely weak. Thank you. Just maybe like this. The foundation is pretty weak here because, and what I mean by that is that people here, like the Mad Bulgarian said, on 10x is that they're a lot more intensified and mad than he is, and that's like because people.
He's
are,
really mad today.
like he's saying, there's people are living paycheck to paycheck. Bro, just a carton of eggs exponentially jumped. Milk, all that stuff. It was cheaper for me to get chicken than to start getting eggs. Like it made more sense. So people are going through it, and if you have people who are
By the
suffering,
way, he didn't get chicken. Okay.
if people are
Right.
suffering, and they're not going to want to join a military if they're suffering themselves because they have to provide for their families.
Yeah.
So then your military is lacking, your economy is lacking inside, and like he said, the market is just being propped up. Like it's just a matter of time till either an AI bubble happens or something.
It's already happening. Even Meta just said that they're training all their workers. Their workers are furious because they have to wear headsets too. They have to train their AI on keystrokes and mouse movements now. And all their workers are like just up in arms because that's the preemptive phase before, we're gonna let all you guys go and AI is taking your job.
Nobody knows. And they think nobody knows what's going on. We all know where the direction is headed.
That is another major topic I want to talk about, man. I think, today we're running out of time,
Yeah,
but that AI revolution, right? I know there's like, pause AI and movements like that that's going on, right? And in our company too, we're now working significantly trying to figure out how to balance this properly, right? Because we want to be very ethical about it. We also want to make sure that we are growing, but we're not isolated from it, right? That's very important. But I love that you said that, because that's I was speaking to a couple business owners that are international, right? Like yesterday. And one of them was saying, when I asked about, we were talking about the AI situation, and he was saying, hey, Mukarram, realistically, AI can take over everything. It can automate things. It can make things go faster. But he goes, you know what? We should invest in agriculture. Because he goes, it can never take over food. And he said clothing. It's very interesting what he said.
It can't take over.
He's a very successful guy, right?
It can't take over.
But in the
already happening in
logistics
India.
part of it,
No,
but
what this
but
guy is
the
saying-
agriculture part is very strong.
he's a very smart individual who you were talking to, because I was actually having a discussion with another person, and they said that this AI, so there's something out there called the dead internet theory, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to talk too much
It's a
about
good one.
that, but the thing is that AI is almost what appears to be this perfect thing, right? It automates, it makes things more efficient, but once you get so far to a point, right, then there's going to be this kind of pullback, in essence, right? Like when something goes up really high, there's going to be a pullback, right? Or a crash potentially, right? And when you say things like agriculture, things like art, okay, there's going to be a pullback to the humanities, is what people are saying.
Yeah, and Charlize Theron actually just said that in about 10 years, it was so funny. She said she said in 10 years there's going to be AI doing Tim Charlemagne's job, but she said AI will never be able to perform live a ballet piece or an opera. AI will never be able to do that.
And so that's the thing is, when I was having this discussion with this other individual, we were basically saying how software engineering jobs, although they are it's already a very saturated market, they're still desired. But once AI gets to a specific point,
It's vulnerable, completely gone.
All of these people are going to be super vulnerable. But you know what's going to be needed? The historians, or not the historians, but the people who can create art, who can create or farmers, right?
Agriculture.
Yeah.
That's why, guys, this is why I've decided. And we were ahead of this, right? Last year, I was in Malaysia, remember? And we were looking at avocado farms. We were looking at deals with the Malaysian government where they would be looking at developing big acreage, right? This is why Southeast Asia, even though right now they're going through an energy crisis, but there's a lot of opportunity here when it comes to looking at land that has produce in it, where it produces something, right? Because AI is going to logistically make that better, but that produce, that agriculture product is what you should invest in. You know?
I want to just leave. I want to say
Yeah,
one
please.
last story before we wrap it up. But I went to get a cup of coffee today, and I ran into my friend there who's been a barista for some time. And she said to me, she's like, hey, I just took my LSAT and I did really well. And I'm thinking about being an attorney. And I said, you should just go full send and just do it. And she said, and this, I never thought I would hear this from someone, but she said, I would, but I'm afraid that AI is going to take over attorneys and I won't have a job. And that is so scary to me, because now I'm like, this young person has hopes and dreams of wanting to be an attorney, and she's in fear of taking that chance because of AI.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Anything like doctors are asking ChatGPT about something, and you're like, what? Like this friend that I was talking to, he said he had so much back pain. He went to a couple different people, but to doctors, specialists, and they were saying the same nonsense, right? But then he was on ChatGPT, and after 3 days and following the recommendation, and he got back onto it, 2 weeks later, no back pain. So that means a doctor's job is being done by ChatGPT. An attorney's job, which is very if you really think about it, documents and filing, paralegals, and then arguing a case, all that can be done. You won't even need an attorney because you'll have your kind of settlement deal through ChatGPT. So this is why our youth and our young professionals should be very, very careful in what they're deciding their future is going to be. Like a few years ago, I was in Australia, right? This was also because Australia is a commodity-heavy country. We wanted to invest in Australia, and I went on like a discovery process there. One of the things I found out when I was talking to Australians, right, on the ground there, is they said, hey, you know, for 30, 40 years, the people who get paid the most here are the plumbers, the electricians, because that's how Australia is, where it's a craft, it's a trade craft, right? I was surprised, but those people are safer than the one who just passed the LSAT.
White collar jobs
So
are
you're
going to
like
be done.
giving us a warning right now?
No, our industry is perfectly fine. Like we don't have, because bro, like there's it's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
no
Our
no no
industry's
no
perfectly safe.
no because here's why I'm saying that. Here's why I'm saying that. It's because we don't have an ego about changing. We are already working on how to adapt something, because you know when something new comes along, the pace at which someone is willing to accept that change determines how successful you're going to be when that change is involved, right? This is human behavior. But you know, for us, immediately, we never thought of it as like, oh, this is going to, no, let's use it to get better. Like already, you know, he's heading one of the projects that we're doing, right? And that's why I'm not worried about that at all. And also, for everyone listening, believe in your intelligence, in your skill, in your ability to forge ahead as human beings, that we have been here for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years, and how we have accomplished this. AI can't take over that spirit, that soul. Okay.
Unless we're in a simulation already. And
Well-
The Matrix was a documentary and not a work of fiction,
I mean,
perhaps.
that's why you should watch his show, Follow the Money, on Fridays, the shorts that he does. It's going to become a documentary. Guys, thank you for joining again. We went a little longer. Again. We'll take care of that. But it was fun, right? So hopefully everyone enjoyed. Every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we do live Coffee with the Traders. Any questions you guys have about the markets, about all these topics we talk, get in touch with us. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And then next week we'll do